Hi students, myself Poornima, I'm your biology educator. In the previous video, we have studied the few concepts related to sexual reproduction in flowering plants. In this class, you are going to study about the MCQ questions that has been appeared in the NEET exam on this same chapter. Let us look at the trend analysis, how the questions are going to be appeared. See, in the year of 2019, majority of the easy questions have been appeared, that too from the part of the flower, a fascinating organ, and from double fertilization, post fertilization structure and event. Majority of the questions was from these three topics itself. In the year of 2022, you can just analyze some questions was from the apomixis. Okay, T4, the apomixis they have asked, and later on the recent is the 2021, they have asked about the parthenocarpy polyembryo. Like this, there is a mode of easy, average and difficult. So majority of the questions will be somewhat easy from this chapter, but a very rare case they will ask the difficult level. So let us study, or let us start with our MCQ. Are you ready students for this? Yes. See, anther is a typically, the option is as goes: A, tetrasporangiate, B is bisporangiate, and C is the trisporangiate, D, monosporangiate. So what does the word tetra indicates? The word tetra means 4. Is it correct? The word bi indicates 2, whereas word tri indicates 3 and mono indicates 1. Is it correct? Then the common word is sporangiate. Sporangiate means the spore or the lobe. How many lobes are present inside the anther? So usually anther, as you have studied in the previous class, each anther consists of the 4 lobes were present. Do you remember this structure? There were 4 lobes, bilobed, and it was consist of dithecus. So the answer is here tetrasporangiate. Okay, let us move to the second question. Study the following statements and select the correct answers. This is in the page number of NCERT, that is 21, 25, 29 and 34. This was in your particular NCERT book. Let us read the options or multiple choice first. Tapetum nourishes the developing pollen grains. Second, helium represents the junction between ovule and funicle. Third one, in aquatic plants such as water hyacinth and water lily, pollination is by water. The primary endosperm nucleus is triploid. What they have asked: among the following statements, select the correct. Please understand the word, what they have asked, whether they have asked correct or incorrect. Here they have asked to tick only the correct statements. Let us see one by one. The tapetum nourishes the developing pollen grain. Is it correct? Obviously, because the tapetum was the tissue which was present nearer to the pollen grain. Do you remember? Here there was a pollen grains were present, and for this, attached to that, there were a large number of the tapetum cells was present, and this tapetum cell was providing direct nourishment to the young developing pollen grains. So our first statement is correct. Helium represent the junction between the ovule and funicle. Yes, ovule and the funicle. Between the ovule and the funicle, see if this is our ovule. Okay. If this is our ovule, and here there will be a junction will be present, and this particular junction we can call it as the helium portion. So helium represent the junction between ovule and the funicle. This structure was present in female megasporophyte. Later on, come with the option number 3. In aquatic plants such as water hyacinth and water lily, pollination is by water. Even though that statement, once if you read it, look like correct, because they have asked about the aquatic plants, and the plants are water hyacinth, water lily. So obviously when you look, just you glance the answer, it will look like correct only. But students, here in aquatic plants, these plants, even though they are in the water, but they are preferring the air pollination is required. Air is required for the kind of pollination, not the water medium is required. So the pollination is not by air, but not by water, but the pollination is by air. So our this statement will be our wrong. Okay, the primary endosperm nucleus is triploid. Will you agree with this statement? Primary nucleus means at the center the central nucleus was present, which will be fertilized by one male gamete. So one male gamete will be N and the central nucleus will be 2N. So when it is fertilized, it is going to produce the 3N, that is triploid nucleus. So our fourth option is also correct. Let us see here which is satisfying our need. So in the option B, 1, 2, 4 are correct, but third statement is incorrect. So our option B will be our right answer. Next, the functions of tapetum is 2. Just now in the previous question I have already mentioned. What will be the answer? Can you guess? See students, option A is suggesting a dehiscing of anther. Wrong. It produces the pollen grain. No, it is not producing pollen grain. Pollen grain is produced by microspore, mother cell. So this statement is also wrong. Provide nourishment to the developing pollen grains. Yes. Next, the last option is store and protect the pollen grains. It is also wrong option. So our correct answer will be option C. The functions of tapetum is 2. That is they provide nourishment and to developing the pollen grains. Next, microsporogenesis occurs. Where does exact place of microsporogenesis? On the margin of the leaves? No. Option B, inside the ovule? No. We are speaking about microsporogenesis means we are speaking about the stamen part, that is a male reproductive part. So this option B is absolutely wrong. Then option C, inside the anther. Yes. Option D, in essential floral organs. No students, it cannot occur wherever it can happen, it can produce. Only it can be seen in the male reproductive organ, that is inside the anther microsporogenesis can take place. Next, one of the most resistant known biological material is, which is the most resistant biological material? Lignin. The lignin is the most resistant, that the lignin is a very hard material that is surrounding, so it can resist the hot condition, hot climatic condition, unfavorable environment. So the one of the most resistant known biological material will be lignin. Next, pollen grain is liberated at, when does the pollen grain will be liberated? One celled stage. Do you remember the structure of pollen grain after during the time of liberation? That was, it was having the vegetative cell and the generative cell, right? So this will be the two-celled stage at the beginning, and later on the generative cell was undergoing the division and it was producing how many cells, students? It was producing nearly 2 cells. So it will be a 3-celled structure. Our pollen grain will be a 3-celled structure. So let us see the option here. Okay. Here there are option is there. Option C is 3-celled structure. But students, please remember, even though when the pollen grain is liberated at the 2-celled stage, later on after entering the pollen tube, the generative cell has the capacity to divide and become the again 3-celled stage. So pollen grain that is liberated either in the 2-celled stage or in the 3-celled stage has the capacity for pollination, has the capacity for the liberation or to undergo the process of pollination, fertilization. So answer 2 or 3-celled stage is correct here. You cannot tick the only option B or C. You must take the option D here, because either the pollen grain can be liberated in the 2-celled stage also, or the pollen grain can be liberated in the 3-celled stage also. Next, Ovules are attached to a parenchymatous cushion called. Ovules are attached to a parenchymatous cushion called. See, nucellus was the part of the ovule, then conducting tissue is the part of the where the particularly the pollen lobe or the anther lobe that was connected. Two anther lobe was connected. Then obturator, it is also a part of the ovule, and the last one is the placenta. So placenta is the tissue. See, if it is the ovule, it is attaching to the ovules are attached particularly with the help of the placenta. This will be our placenta. Okay, this portion will be the ovules. So option D is the right answer. Next, which of the following statements is correct? Please once again look at the statements. What they have asked, which of the following statement is incorrect? Option A, that is the sporopollenin can withstand with the high temperature, not with the strong acid. Let us read one by one first. Then the option B, sporopollenin can be degraded by enzyme. Sporopollenin is made up of inorganic material. Sporopollenin can withstand high temperatures as well as strong acid and alkalis. So students, the sporopollenin where we have studied, the sporopollenin was the material that was present in the exine layer. Do you remember? The pollen consists of two layers, that was intine as well as the outermost layer was called as the exine. This is the exine layer and this one will be the intine layer. So the exine layer, particularly this exine layer, was made up of sporopollenin. So the sporopollenin can withstand the high temperatures. It can withstand the strong acid as well as the alkalis. So let us look at the option once again. So which is going to satisfy? The option D is going to satisfy the question. Next, animal vectors are required for pollination. See, usually the maize and the which one, mulberry, are the wind pollinators. These both are wind. Vallisneria pollinates with the help of the water, and cucumber by means of the animal. Okay, which is satisfying here? Animal vectors are required for pollination in case of the cucumber. Next, megaspore are produced from the megaspore mother cell after. When does the megaspore is going to be produced from the megaspore mother cell? That is during the time of the meiotic division. Once the meiotic division, see, this is our megaspore mother cell, which is 2n in condition. It undergo the meiotic division. Okay, it undergo first meiotic division and it produces the 4 haploid cells. Is it correct? So it produces the 4 haploid cell, among which 3 are going to degenerate, only 1 will be functional. So the megaspore are produced from megaspore mother cell only after the meiotic division. Hello students, are you preparing for NEET, JEE or KCET? Looking for the right guidance to achieve your dream rank? Welcome to Global Academy live coaching classes, single point and complete solution for competitive exam preparation. Specially designed for 11th and 12th or PUC 1 and 2 students, combining board syllabus with entrance exam coaching. New batches starting from 25th March 2026 for the academic year 2026-27. Course fees 9,999. Now with 50% discount, enroll for just 4,999 for the entire course. Limited seats available. Enroll today. For any enquiry, call to these numbers. Scan QR code for easy payment. Next, which of the following has provided helpful in preserving pollen as fossils? Which of the following has provided helpful in pollen as fossil, that is cellulosic intine. Pollen grains can be stored for several years in liquid nitrogen having the temperature of the remaining whatever the temperatures are given here. There will be always a standard temperature maintained. So minus 196 degrees Celsius is a standard temperature for maintaining the pollen grains in liquid nitrogen. In remaining temperature, it cannot persist or it cannot stay over there. Then, what is double fertilization? The question itself they have given. Double fertilization is, let us go one by one. That is option A, fusion of two male gamete of a pollen tube with two different eggs. Fusion of two male gamete of a pollen tube with two different eggs. See, here they have used the word different eggs. In the ovule, is there the different eggs are present? No, only one egg is present. So, obviously, the first statement will be wrong. Next, fusion of one male gamete with two polar nuclei. Here, they have given what? Yes, the statement is correct, but what they have missed? The fusion of the egg with two polar nuclei. Along with that, egg is also present here. Next, syngamy and triple fusion. See, the word they have introduced, syngamy. Syngamy means the fusion of the male gamete with the egg that gives the diploid zygote, which you can call it as syngamy, and triple fusion, that is the fusion of male gamete with the a pair of polar nuclei. Pair of polar nuclei indicates the 2n in condition, so it is 3n. Syngamy and triple fusion. Next, the D is fusion of two male gamete with one egg. No, never the two male gametes will simultaneously fuses only with one egg. So always the two male gamete will be fusing with one will be fusing with the egg, and it is going to produce the zygote, which you can also call it as syngamy. The other male gamete is going to fuse with the polar nuclei, which is 2n in condition. Later on it gives us the triploid fusion. So the option C is the correct answer. The persistent nucleus in the seed is known as the persistent nucleus, or the persistent nucleus in the seed is known as. See, the option A, chalaza is a part of the ovule. It was just a part of the ovule. Okay. Next, the hilum. Hilum is the place where the funicle and the ovule was meeting point. It is a meeting point of the funicle as well as the ovule. Then the tegmen. Tegmen is the last portion of the ovule also. Then perisperm. Perisperm is the innermost layer that is going to persistent in the nucleus of the seed. Next, what fate of the male gamete discharged in the synergid? What is the fate of the male gamete discharged in the synergid? So let us look at the option one by one. One fuses with the egg, other degenerates synergid. One fuses with the egg and other degenerates synergid. All fuses with the egg. One fuses with the egg, other fuses with central nuclei. One fuses, option D is one fuses with the egg and other fuses with the central nuclei. So students, here the option D is correct, because as from this portion, if this is our synergid portion, the male gamete, when it makes the entry, one of the synergid will be degenerated, so that it makes the way. Which one? The synergid is going to make the way for the gamete. One of the gamete is going to fuse with the egg that is present over here. Then other of the gamete is going to fuse with the polar nucleus. So that is the answer. D is going to satisfy this question. The body of the ovule is fused within the funicle. The body of the ovule that is fused in the funicle, as I have previously said. The hilum is the portion where it is attaching the ovule with the funicle region. So option D is correct. See, micropyle is the region that is the opening of the ovule. Okay, opening of the ovule is called as micropyle. Nucellus is the inside tissue that is present in the ovule, whereas chalaza is the basal portion of the ovule. A typical angiosperm embryo sac maturity is at. See, for this we have to learn the female embryo sac. The female embryo sac consists of how many cells, students? The two will be synergid, one will be egg cell. Okay, correct. Then there will be a pair of polar nuclei will be present. Then later on there will be three cells. How many cells are there here? Here the three will be antipodals. Okay, three are antipodals here. One pair will be the polar nuclei. One will be egg cell. Two will be synergid. So let us calculate this number. Antipodals how many? 3 are there. Polar nuclei 2. Egg cell 1. Synergid 2. So total 5, 6, 7, 8 cell. So here what has happened? There are 8 nucleus are present and 7 celled. How can you call it a 7 cell? Say this together 2 polar nuclei, we will consider it as a single cell. So once again if you calculate you will get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 8 nucleus are present. Yes, correct. 8 nucleate and 7 celled because the 2 polar nuclei will be considered under a single cell. Next, which of the following statement is wrong? When pollen is shed at two-celled stage, double fertilization does not takes place. Then option B, vegetative cell is larger than generative cell. Is it correct? Yes. How? You have seen in the division what has happened. As the pollen grain will undergo division, it will produce the unequal division. The larger cell is called as the vegetative cell and the smaller cell is called as the generative cell. Then option C, pollen grains in some plants remain viable for months. Why? Because there is a material called as sporopollenin which can persist in the unfavorable condition also. It can persist the strong acid and alkali, high temperature. So some of the pollen grain can remain viable for several months. Then intine is made up of the cellulose and pectin. What was intine? Intine was the innermost layer of the pollen grain that was made up of cellulose and pectin. So all these options are correct, but what they have said, the pollen grain if it is shed at two-celled stage, see, even though the pollen grain if it is shed at two-celled stage also, as soon as the pollen grain enters the pollen tube, the generative cell undergo division and it becomes three-celled stage. So later on it can fertilize the egg as well as the polar nuclei which will producing the double fertilization. So the option A is wrong here. A is wrong. But according to our question, what they asked, which one of the following statement is wrong? So option A is the correct answer for our question. So please understand the question whether they have asked the correct or the wrong statement. Then how many pollen grains will be formed after meiotic division of 10 microspores? See the word 10 microspore mother cell. We know that 1 microspore mother cell is going to produce 4 microspores. Yes, 1 microspore mother cell is going to produce 4 haploid microspore. Likewise, how many they have asked? They have asked how much the 10 microspore mother cell is going to produce. It is a simple calculation. Either you can cross multiply or you can say directly it as the 40. So the option B is the correct answer.